like to welcome y'all to Digging in Texas and this new series, Trash or Treasure. Now you know. Now in this new series, myself, along with Peter Elves of South Carolina, and you may have also seen Pete on his YouTube channel, Digging South Carolina, are going to help you identify things that you've dug and you have no clue what they are. Trust me, through the 37 years I've been digging, I still dig things I don't know what they are. But Pete and I spend a lot of time, whether it be days, weeks, months, even years, researching pieces to give proper identity. We would like to take this series, Trash or Treasure, and share what we do know with you. Also in this series, we're going to show you the shortcuts to becoming successful through identification of certain types of pottery, as well as other things that you run into. So kick back, prop your feet up, and join us on this first episode and new series of Trash or Treasure. Alright, so we've got a few things here we're going to identify for you guys. We're going to start with this piece right here. Now, some of you may have dug something like this and thought, well, you know, it looks like something goes to a wagon. But believe it or not, this piece did not go to a wagon. Okay? Now what we have here is an old chain link to an old well. It's how people got their water. They use this little disc right here. As you can see in the pictures, I've supplied some pictures. This thing would come up through a tube. There would be a chain of these. This wasn't it by itself. There were several of these on a chain. They would come up through a tube like that. They would come up through the tube, capture the water, and it would come out the spout. Now this piece right here is made of lead. Now once again, you know, people have followed me a little bit. I found the lead pipes, and now we're going to drink with lead involved again, but lead was used a lot back in the day. So as you can see in some of the pictures, you can see how this kind of operated, how it kind of worked. And it's kind of unique. They said, I read on this dates back to like the medieval times. Over in England they were using stuff like this, but we've come a long way since this right here, I promise you.
Hello, welcome to Digging Texas. Yeah, I know you usually see me on Digging South Carolina, but yeah, Larry and I hunt together every chance we get, and he's doing this series on his channel about identification of relics and stuff, and he asked me if I had anything that I, could put on there. I said, sure, I'll come up with something. I know a lot of you folks don't even relic hunt. You don't look for relics, you just coin hunt and coin shoot, but you might be in a spot somewhere where you dig a button, and you want to know how old it is. You want to know whether it's Civil War period or not. So what I'm fixing to show you is like a 100% surefire way that you'll be able to tell right away that you got a good button or not. Okay, here's the very first button I'm going to use to help a lot of you coin diggers or people who usually don't dig buttons. It's the very first one I'm going to show you to give you an idea how, when it comes out of the ground, as soon as it comes out of the ground, you'll be able to tell whether you got a good button or not. Alright, this is 1850s South Carolina militia. Alright, it's a pretty button. And when I roll it over, I want you to notice, you see the back mark? The back mark on this button is actually inside of a little channel. And they call that RMDC in the books, and it stands for Raised Mark Depressed Channel. Y'all can clearly see that back mark. The button's not flat. You see that little channel running around there with the back mark in it? Okay, if you pull a button out of the ground and you flip it over and you see that, that's 100% guaranteed that you got at least a pre-Civil War button. And I don't care what kind of button it is. It could be a flower button, a sportsman's button, a checkerboard patterned button. It doesn't matter. Military button. But when you see that, you know you got a good button, at least Civil War period or earlier. All right, I'm going to show you another one. Okay, this is a pretty eagle button. Of course, it's Civil War. Flip it over. Once again, you see a little channel with the writing in it inside that channel. Can you see that? There's a channel going around there and it's got letters in it. That means it's a raised mark depressed channel. Again, this one right here is probably made in the 1850s. Alright, and here's a button that's Civil War period, but it doesn't have that channel. See that? That's a big Code Eagle Eye. No, it's Code Eagle A, I think. Wait a minute, let me see. Yeah, Yankee Artillery. No channel, but this one was probably made around 1860 to 1861, 62, 63. Where this one, see the difference? That channel, and this one doesn't have it. This one was made in the 1850s. A lot of times you'll see it in the 1840s too, but that was when it was popular to do that, in 1840s and 1850s.
The next piece I want to show you guys, actually it's several pieces, but they all belong to the same thing, same item. Is this right here? I'm going to show you all these things right here. Now I know you're going to dig these. No question about it. Alright. Now we got actually 4 different things here that belong to the same thing. And what this belonged to was an umbrella or parasol. And this is called the runner. This piece right here is called the runner. Alright. And this piece is called the top notch. Okay. Now, these didn't belong to the exact same umbrella, but you'll get the idea. This anyway, and these pieces right here are called the stretcher tips. Okay. Now I know you're digging these. We all do, and we dig a lot of them. Anyway, how this worked. All right. You see these slots in here. Well, the stretcher tip actually went in these notches like so. Went in there like that right there. Okay. And there was a wire that went around that right there. It went around, held them in there. And the stretchers, the rods, whoops, came out of these right here, okay? And that's what pushed the umbrella open. Anyway, that's what these did. You find a lot of these. Anyway, that's called the stretcher tip to an umbrella. You also will find these pieces right here. All right, this is what they look like. All right, what these are the rib tips. This one on the tips of the arms of the umbrella. These went out on the ends, and you'll find them as well. So I just wanted to show y'all that right there. And as the picture shows, you can see kind of how it works. I mean, with my hands in the way, you really can't. But now you know if you dig any one of these 4 parts, it went to an umbrella or a parasol. And this will date back to the Civil War or earlier.
Alright, I know a lot of people already know a lot about this stuff already, people who dig relics, dig buttons, but this thing Larry's doing, identifying artifacts and stuff, it's not for the people who already know all about this stuff. It's for the people who come across this stuff, have never seen anything like this before, and you know, they'll pull something out of the ground, don't know what they got. So this is to help those people. Alright, this one right here, this little clue on buttons, is about 3-piece buttons, staff buttons. Okay, you see, a staff button is a 3-piece button. It's got the face, the back, and it's got a little rim holding it together. That's what they call staff buttons. They're actually 3-piece buttons. And they made a lot of staffs during the Civil War, and they made them after the Civil War. But the way you can tell the Civil War period, or the early ones, from the late ones, is by the rim size. And I'm going to show you. This right here is a late 1860s post-war South Carolina. A lot of people dig them and they get all excited because they think they got something good. They think they got a Confederate button. No, this thing right here never had anything to do with the Confederacy at all. Alright, let me show you something. Alright, you see that rim on that button right there that's late? Look at this one right here. You see how thin that rim is? This is a Civil War period Maryland Civil War button. Can you see the difference in the rim size? This one right here is late, and this one right here is Civil War period. See that thin rim? See that thick rim going around there? When you pull a button out of the ground, and it's a staff, and it's got a state steel or whatever, you know, it's a state button or whatever, you see that fat, thick rim on it? It's late. It's not Civil War period, so don't fool yourself into thinking it is something that it's not, because it's not Civil War period. This right here is in New York. Again, what do you see? See that thin rim versus that thick one? This is a Civil War period button. This is not, okay? And that's how you can tell as soon as you get one out of the ground, if you dig a 3-piece button, whether it's more Civil War period or not. Check that rim size.
And the next item I want to talk about has to do with horse tack in a way. It's these pieces right here. All right. They come in different shapes, different sizes, but one thing, they're brass. And what these are, what we have here is horse harness strap rosettes. You can call them rosettes if you want. They're a decorative piece. Now I've got a picture for you to look at so you understand where these went. Okay, now, a lot of them were silver plated. These will date back all the way, these early, colonial times. All of them have the 2 brass tits on the back where they'd go into the leather and they'd bend them over. Okay, all of them are like that. You can see they're all like that. Okay, they're early. Okay, so on the picture, you can see that some of them were shields and some of them were diamonds, some of them were rectangles. They had all kind of fancy looking little designs there. But when you find this now you know what these went to. Okay, it's just a decorative piece that went on the horse harness there, usually on the straps.
Okay, the last tip I'm gonna give you on this episode is I just showed you about buttons. Now I'm gonna show you how we find buttons. All right, there's 2 pieces of china. They're picked up out in fields where old home sites were at. All right, this right here, the green, we call it green feathered edge. This dates to the Revolutionary War period. Every home site that dated back to the Revolutionary War period will have this in it, whether it's in the United States, Canada. This is what they used back then. Green rim, green rim china. All right, right here, same thing, but it's blue feathered edge. This dates from the 1840s up to the Civil War period. And the cool thing about this stuff right here is if you don't see it in a site anymore, the site is not old enough. It disappeared after the Civil War. This stuff, they didn't use it anymore. This is what you look for when you go out and walk those fields, road beds. This is what you look for. 1700s Revolutionary War period, Civil War period. A lot of times the site will have both in it because it dated all the way from the colonial times up to the Civil War period. And if you go out and you're looking for home sites and stuff like that that aren't there anymore, if you don't at least see this, you're not going to find any good old coins or buttons or anything like that.
All right, the next items I want to talk about, I've got several of them, are these pieces right here. These little brass pieces that look like the little keyholes that went to like a little diary or something like that, but that's not what these are. These are brass fasteners. They will date to the Civil War and before the Civil War. And what these belong to was to a lady's corset. Now, if you can notice in the pictures I've also supplied for you to look at, you'll see the metal bar. There's some here, still got some of the metal bar on it. But you can see the metal bar that runs up and down both sides. One was the female keeper, the other one was the male side. And ladies would pull these real tight, and they would fasten, and it would keep the corset together. And we find these in camps, man. We do. We find them all over the place. But these were very popular back during the Civil War and before the Civil War. So these are basically little brass fasteners. They could have been used on other items, but one thing is for certain, they were definitely used on a woman's corset. Isn't that neat? So when you find these, now you know what they belong to.